They found a foundation where, out by that tree there?
By that tree there. That's the newest one. But it had been reused several times because there was like 3 floors in the.
And it dates from the 1700s?
They put concrete over it.
Wow.
And I think the railroad might have been using that at some point where it was.
Straight in from that gate there was another foundation?
I think that was probably the oldest.
They date from what, the 1700s?
The 1700s, yeah. There was a well, a stone well.
There in front of it.
These are all artifacts they found?
These aren't from here. Those over there.
Why don't you go follow?
Okay, we'll see you again.
We'll see you
One
again.
over there.
Short breath, and I'm going to cardiac rehab. And they take
I just don't want to break something to see if it's power. But I don't think it is.
Some of them are roasting pits, some of them are fire pits.
That orange flag, what's that signifying right there? That orange flag there?
That's a marker that says do this unit.
So what we're doing here is digging out 100 centimeters square by 10 centimeters deep. We go down 10 centimeters at a time. We stop, we do paperwork, and document anything we find. In this particular area, not in the section that are dug, but just in the upper level, we did find some flakes, but no projectile points so far.
What's a flake now?
A flake is just remnant of a stone, lithic, that Native Americans used for making projectile points, either arrowheads or spear points. Yeah.
That hole there, what would that be?
That was a fire pit where they actually, for example, they could have roasted nuts there, and it just formed. They made a hole and cooked the nuts in that area. It's just an earthen pit.
Yeah.
And then the unit next to where I'm working over there is just a hearth for cooking. So we're just sort of uncovering that now. And I'm moving this thing around now. Yep. And then there's a more recent one on this upper level here.
The deeper they are, the older they are?
That's right. Yep. So there you're probably into the archaic period.
The main dig right
yeah,
there?
It takes us about 2 to 3 years to dig under one of these areas. Then down to refusal, and then we'll move it again.
Yeah. Now behind us here, is there another one back that way too?
Well, what we do is do like test pits to see where to go next.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we're going next.
This is the main one here though, right?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, this is like I guess
Probably a year.
yeah, it'll be about a year away.
House foundations, where were they from this?
There was one. The last one we did was like to the left, out as you go out there. That
Actually,
was pretty neat.
past the back of the tent there.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
This was taken out from
They just never finished it. Maybe it wasn't that way, but
Phillips.
they tied it on
A
anyway.
lot of this was different material that has been from that time of colonialism.
Chris found all
Mostly
these.
here was coins that were found at the trading post.
There was a trading post down here?
Yes, there was a trading post that was found. Besides, there's trade beads here that
Thousands and thousands of
were
years old.
part of
You could
the
make
trading
it.
post, and other places have been found. Around here, there's the flints,
Gun flints.
And you can find most of the stuff, or all of it.
as you go down. There was one case of display of different projectiles to another. Like I said, a lot of the coins that are here that were found at the trading post is here.
So that trading post dated from the 1700s?
Yes, it was in the Yankee Pennant Wars. There's a lot of area there that this area had been continually used.
All this stuff was found
Like I
here.
say again, what's been found, cufflinks or different, I'm sure other personnel would be, fascinated to see what was here of the different material. Now here we had just been discussing over projectile, and this is the breakdown.
These are found recently?
Yes, in fact, that had been just brought out to display of. Another person had brought some, as we call, projectiles for spear, arrow, addle, they call it. Another, game getter.
Trade axe.
And yeah,
It was found in this foundation here,
A trade axe. What date would that go back to?
1700s.
1700s. Wow.
okay, yeah, let's move these while you're making, because this is the heavier stuff. Pray to get something. The time on these and the rounds for here is incredible. You know,
These are called points, right? You don't call them arrowheads?
right. Points, projectiles, and they fall in a. And yeah.
Oh, I get no sorry.
That long rock there.
It's probably like a mortar and pistol.
Yeah, okay.
Pistol.
Yeah. No, what is the
planted the-
Three Sisters?
Beans, corn, and squash together. And what happens is they call it, the Native Americans call them the Three Sisters, and it was a custom to plant them that way.
Yeah. This is our open house for the Francis Dorrance chapter of the Society for Pennsylvania Archaeology, and we have an archaeological dig going on in the plastic covered port over there, and we have refreshments and merchandise, t-shirts, hats, that kind of stuff, but it's mainly so that people get the feeling of what it's like to do archaeology, and maybe create some interest in it for people that didn't really know that we existed. And it's a great way for people to see what has gone on in this area and how we can discover our history in this area.
They dug it out. But where we are right now, the soils are pretty well.
A projectile point approximately 8,000 years old, which was really impressive. But basically what we're finding is projectile points. Many times they're made out of a mineral called chert. Many times we're finding jasper ones. And jasper is not from this particular area. So you will know that they've either traded or they travel to different areas to bring the jasper to this location. So now, over in this area, you'll see sometimes the earthen pits will be shallow. This one over here is actually quite deep. And what you know is, as you keep scooping it out, you'll see that the dirt change, and it won't be quite as dark anymore. So then you know you've reached the base of the earthen pit. Now, a few weeks ago, we found in this one section over here a collection of
it's a good question.
these are called flakes.
From our perspective, from some of these
from the arrowheads.
Right, as they're making tools, they'll chip off the flakes, and that's what we look for. Having this many in one location was extremely rare. And it wasn't in the whole unit. It was just in one section about the size of my paper here. And it just went straight down. So we're just scraping gently with the trowel, and these points just kept popping up and popping up. So we were really excited to see what were we going to find when we got below that, and there was nothing else. So why were these all put in that one spot? We really don't know. We kind of make stories that, well, maybe they dug a hole and put them all in there because they were scattered all around and they didn't want to step on them. I don't know. Maybe the kids buried them as a joke. We don't know. We don't know. But it was fascinating to find so many in one location.
Any idea how old they are or what?
That would be probably about 3,000 years ago. Yeah.
That arrow, is that pointing any significant?
Pointing north.
Okay.
Yeah, that's north.
Now, was the river about in the same place as it is now?
We believe so. I mean, I'm sure it has fluctuated. In 2011 and 72, this area did flood. I'm sure there were many floods over the centuries back here. When you get down deeper, you can really see the various levels of the dirt. And if you look here, I'm not the best at this. If you look here, you'll see different levels of the dirt. And in the former weather pit we had on the other side, we were down about 6-7 feet. And when you got in there and you could look at it eye level, you could really see all the different levels. So you could take your trowel and just draw a line right where all of the different levels of the dirt were. And that was fascinating.
So here's something we find in our typical screens, and this is a big primary flake. So when they were refining stones into projectile points, this would be a flake that would come off of that primary rock.
What kind of rock is that, do you know?
This, I believe, would be a chert. And chert was usually what they were after to make projectile points out of. So these are very large primaries. You also have secondary pieces that are a little less of that outer rock rind to it. And then you have tertiary. And tertiary is very important to us because that means they were here for a long period, willing to sit there and refine their projectile points.
Excellent.
And how they chip them off is using just deer antlers to chip away at the rock. And that's what you get from as a flake.
Excellent.
Spoke shave.
Spoke shaves?
And basically what it is, it's a scraper, and you can see how it was worked here. And then they would scrape the branches to get the bark, off the branches. And they found 15 of them, all in one location. So again, somebody must have been working together and doing a lot of.
They just found them recently?
Last week. That one was probably the most indicative of the shape of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can see how it was worked. You know, you can see how that was chipped away.
Oh yeah.
And see now, if we found the area where they were working this, we would find all of these flakes, all of those pieces that were broken
took off. It, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're looking at.
That was found not in this hole here, right? It was
not in this hole, but just down the road, just at a couple hundred yards.
Would there be any foundations or any areas left that may have a lot that you guys just haven't discovered yet?
I'm sure there is right here. I really do. I mean, because every week we've been finding more and more.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah.
Right, so here's our screen. So we take large buckets like this of dirt from a specific unit. We want to keep the units in context and individualized so we don't mix artifacts that we find into various ones. So then we dump it into the screen here and we just sift back and forth. And then from there we take the palms of our hands with gloves and we just sift everything down and continue to look for various flakes or projectile points, even pottery that comes up in the screen.
And that's how you found the coins too?
Yep. So the screen is really kind of your almost last line of defense. So if you don't find the artifact here, it'll be gone forever. So the screen is a very important and a very slow process of finding because you want to ensure that you go over it with a fine-tooth comb, so to speak.
Now these screens are all the same size, or they have different size holes in them, or what's?
So these are all donated, homemade by people. So sometimes we do get various types of, and you'll see across the screens, but we do try to keep them very small hold. Due to just the artifacts sometimes are very small. One time there was a bead in the screen, and a lot of times Native American beads will go right through because they are so small. The one that I found just happened to catch in the screen and we were luckily able to find it, and that's why we want to keep these holes as small as possible. There's a foundation back through the woods over here that they are actively working on right now. You can kind of see the tent back there for it if you look through between this hole right here.
Yes, yeah.
Yep, so there is a foundation back there. We also did another foundation a few years ago, and that's where the coins on the table came from.
This would be the Phillips farm, somebody said?
Yes.
And that's from the 1700s?
Yes, yes. Late 1800s.
That right here, Dale, this is a rock-lined hearth, a feature that's pretty prominent within a lot of prehistoric indigenous cultures. It's basically a roasting pit. It's something they made to basically cook their game over, roast their game over, amongst other things. They could be sitting around this fire, doing something ceremonial, but typically we try to go by something that's evidentiary based. So we're looking for, in this hearth itself, we're looking for things that might belie what they were actually doing, what they're actually eating here. Faunal remains, floral remains, palynology, what type of stuff is in there.
Any bones in
Well, that would be the faunal remains then. That we don't have any bone evidence in here yet. But typically in some of these fires, you will find, bone residue. And what you can do a typology on that. You can figure out what type of animals they were eating at that time. And also from the soil matrix, we gather that matrix. We'll do a process called flotation on it.
Yeah.
And anything carbon-based will float. So we'll do that through the process of palynology, the study of the pollen grains that are in there. We'll figure out what they're eating, and we can also tell what time of year they were here. So if we find hickory nut husks in there, we know they were here in the fall.
You have found them?
Yeah, and we have found them, yeah. So this gives us a good indication of not only the chronology of the cultural components that we're looking at, but what time of year they were actually here during that period.
Were they here year-round, or
right now, these are semi-permanent, if you want to call them cultural components. We don't have a site of permanence, like a village site yet. So they were here at certain times of the year gathering resources, whether they be marine resources from the river, gathering stuff from the woodlands around, from the vast woodlands, that type of stuff. They were hunting, of course. So we see a lot of that evidence in those fire pits. But you can see how collapsed that is. And within the matrix, the soil matrix of those fire pits, sometimes we will find broken projectile points, sometimes intact projectile points. Then we can get a good idea of what the typology is, who actually is the culture that we're dealing with, and again, a better lock on what time frame we're dealing with.
This is a phase 3 archaeological dig. It's a block excavation. We're at the confluence of the Lackawanna River and the Susquehanna River. The soils are all alluvial soils, overbank deposits, go back 10,000 years. We're dealing with the middle woodland component back to the early woodland component, which our carbon dates are from 350 AD to 6,900 BC. Right now we're on a late archaic level, which is 2 to 4,000 BC. The various pits in the ground are features. They're earthen pits, some rock hearts, as over on that south wall over in there. What we do is we map them, take the botanicals out of the pits, analyze the botanicals, and get an idea what was going on here for thousands of years.
What have they found here, though? They find anything?
Roughly 10 points out of here.
Really? Wow.
I got some pottery and
how deep is that?
Tools.
About 6 feet? Yeah.
Over the winter time the hole got flooded out and it blew the walls out, as you can see. So slowly I've been putting these back together again. It's coming good.
Oh, right there. Okay, so that's part of a fire pit.
Yeah, so I'm working down on it, so I'll be right on top of it. So I plateaued it so we could keep everything right intact.
And this is the 2 digs that you have here. Do you have any more digs on
this is the 2 we have.
Just the 2 you have. That post there, what's it with the red string on it? What's that signifying?
This is the line level. As you see, all the lines on the walls.
Yeah.
Then go to the next one.
Yeah. Okay.
When you run them out, you run all 12 together. You have 100 by 100 centimeter units. So I run them all. You'll have. This would be in the line of 100, 100, 100. And this line here will take me even where I need to be. Roots coming down.
Okay.
Yeah. As you see, I got roots coming up from the tree there, so it makes it a little challenging to keep everything in order.
But that is a fire pit there, or
yeah,
those
that's
rocks
100%
are?
of a fire pit, yes. 50 would take me right on.
How
right
long
on
would it
right
take
top.
to cut that with that notch out at top? How long would it take to do that? Yeah.
Oh, that'd take me an hour, the most.